Hey there everyone, Spazzy Dragon here, aka Syndromes, and welcome to this, I suppose this should count as a in-between episode, like an update episode, concerning our live stream of the adventures of Victor Izzy, aka Harsh Life. Okay, so I wanted to make a video like this some time ago, but I didn't have the chance. Anyway, it's been about 3.5 weeks since we started the whole livestream malarkey, and I wanted to make a bit of a summary of how it's going so far, what the good things are, what the bad things are, and what the future holds for this particular project of mine. Now, needless to say, I need to just get this out of the way. The whole livestream thing started off as nothing more of a experiment, really. I had very little expectations of it, so to speak. The experiment was basically, can you livestream Disco, considering Disco is a single-core game, and I'm running on an FX chip, which has really poor single-core performance, and I will go into detail about this particular problem a little bit later. And secondly, is Disco worth streaming? Is there things in the game that would be fun to actually watch on a live stream instead of actually, you know, logging into the game and, you know, experiencing them yourself? So, yeah. Needless to say, Victor is not my first and definitely not my last closed economy hardcore character. I really like this sort of approach. I find it fun to play. And needless to say, this whole livestream thing has its share of concerns and problems, and, you know, also good things. So, I suppose before I actually start listing them, I'm going to just openly say right now that so far the whole Let's Play has been really successful. I'm having a lot of fun, and that is not going to change. So, also I have no reason to, you know, stop doing this particular Let's Play anytime soon, but, you know, the reason why I want to get that out of the way is because I'm going to talk about all the problems and etc., and you might get the expectation, you know, you might get the impression, yeah, that's the word, the impression that something's wrong or I'm not enjoying. No, actually, it's pretty fun. And, yeah. Anyway, the primary problem when it comes to this sort of, you know, this sort of Let's Play thing in general is the fact that, first of all, this is the first time I have a character whose in-game actions I document 100%. It's not as easy, or, well, maybe it's not as easy. It's a lot more easier than documenting it text in a, you know, text sort of thing. But apart from the other two ships that I've set up and that 1 hour of me and Stan doing our reputations to get to the bounty board, we have a total in-game time of 15 hours on this character already, and all 15 hours have been documented on the live stream. So that is very fucking impressive, to say the least. Now, obviously this also means that even though, speaking from a in-game perspective, from a roleplay perspective, Victor has gotten a lot further than, say, Rochambeau did, it's, you know, it's still only 15 hours, so this is a relatively new character all the same. And that's actually a second problem that I want to address, is that one of the problems, this is one of the problems that this livestream thing has, but the same thing that Rochambeau didn't back in 2015. So, in the case of Rochambeau, what I used to do, I would get into the game, I would fly around, I would record everything, so Shadowplay was running all the time, and whenever something interesting happened, I would cherry pick that, put it into the video, and then release it whenever, you know, whenever things gather up. And at least then you know that in that video you would see things happen, right? In the case of Victor, though, you have no choice but to watch the whole footage, like 100% footage of the in-game interactions, or, to be more precise, the lack of interactions. So that is always going to be problematic. I've tried to you know, sort of fix this issue by asking people who are actually watching at the time to give me some sort of topics and you know, things to talk about, which by the way sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. So sometimes I can't shut up about things, and sometimes we end up flying from point A to point B in complete silence and only listening to whatever music I picked for that time. So, well, that is not ideal, and that is something that we will need to fix. And maybe I will find a way, maybe I'll dig up some of the older questions if, you know, no one's asking anything, and, you know, to make things interesting. I mean, it's a 1-hour live stream. It's not really a long time. I mean, I watch a good number of live streamers. Their live streams can go up to 2.5 hours. But Freelancer, sadly, as a game, sometimes you have things going on and sometimes you don't. So in the case of the old Let's Play, it was easy to mitigate because, you know, you just cherry pick whatever happens. But in the case of Victor here, it's not as simple. So that is one of the problems. The second problem was mostly we seem to be operating in Liberty, which is really not that big of a deal when you think about it. Or at least it wouldn't be if all of my other content wouldn't be coming from Liberty. For example, when I'm flying my Rogue, or when I'm flying whatever else, it only seems that we're sitting in Liberty, and for those of you who actually saw my thread at some point some time ago, I'm trying to find ways to escape Liberty. So obviously Bretonia would be a good pick. I sent the armor transport character over here to the Bretonius, to the Rainland system, so hopefully we might have a little bit more variation over time, but it seems that overall we went to freaking Delta, of all places, I mean, and we still ended up going right back to Liberty in the end, so that's also not a really good thing. As for my concerns, frankly speaking, they are not really that big of a concern anymore. The thing about the live stream, the obvious concern when it comes to a live stream was, apart from the, well, I accidentally wrote something, you know, bad, you know, that sort of thing. I mean, in a recorded sort of environment, you have the chance to cut things out. You know, you don't have that chance in live streams, so you have to be a little bit more careful. When it comes to... And yeah, obviously it's a live stream, so obviously everyone sees what I'm doing in real time. There's no delay, and I'll going to talk about delays in general a little bit later in this video. So there's no delay, so everyone can, you know, meet up with Victor if they see fit, regardless of their intentions. And I was actually kind of concerned that this would be a chance for people to grief the character, because, well, let's face it, I'm not really a person without, you know, naysayers, so to speak. But it seems that the recent bannings from the administration team, especially from things that people don't necessarily do in-game and on the forums, I think that people might be a little bit more careful, so maybe that's the thing. Also, I had Hannibal tell me on his admin character all the time, so I don't know. Maybe it's just because of that. In any case, I wasn't really too worried if that was the case. Like, if that did happen, it would still make for a, you know, an interesting live stream, even if it's just me being highly annoyed and angry. But, well, there you go. Okay, and I suppose the last problem that is, you know, kind of like a thing, let's just undock real quick so we don't get booted for base idling, is the performance hit. So right now, obviously, I am actually recording off Shadowplay. So Shadowplay is obviously the recording software which records directly off the chip. The OBS software that I'm using to actually stream is kind of like that, but a little bit more different. You need to get the footage, convert it, and then send it over internet. Funnily enough, it actually has no issues when it comes to networking stability. It seems that I have no FLUCT and no ping problems, no loss, no lag. My ping itself goes up for about 10 ms, and that's not really noticeable. But what is noticeable is the drop in frame rate. which is kind of interesting. So right now I'm running at a stable 155, and that would be in any situation, almost any situation right now. And when it comes to OBS though, for example, yesterday's live stream where I entered the fight in Leeds, that thing brought it down to 30. So needless to say, that is problematic, especially if I want to take this character into larger battles. But I suppose I will try to fix it. I think I know why this is happening. I think Freelancer is using the same core that OBS is using, and since the FX piledriver chipset, or not the chipset, or at least the CPU architecture has always been kind of, you know, meh when it comes to single-core performance, I think that is actually the thing to blame, so I will look into it. Maybe I can force OBS to use a different set of cores, but this is something I need to, you know, put a little bit more research into when I have a little bit more spare time. Anyway, so right now I'm gonna quickly answer to 4 of the questions that I've seen pop up, and I didn't answer them during the stream because I was trying to concentrate not to die. Okay, so why no delay? Basically, I wanted to see if people would, you know, would be shitters and go after this character if there's no delay. Like, would they metagame, right? But it seems that if they did metagame, it would first of all be very obvious, and I'm recording all the time, so there's evidence of them breaking the server rule regarding metagaming, so I suppose that's... I shouldn't have really worried about that too much, but, well, there you go. So, and the second reason is very simple. People watching the live stream actually are asking questions and whatever, so I would need to see them and instantly answer them. There is a delay. There is a delay of about 15 or 20 seconds, I think. It comes naturally from the PC recording and transmitting, YouTube re-encoding the video. You know, it takes a little bit of time. So there you go. There is a little bit of a delay, but I didn't make a artificial delay like other people do. So hopefully that is... Hopefully I will not need to change that choice in the near future. Okay, so the next question is, why am I using ships that I'm obviously bad in? So, as you can see, I'm flying heavy fighters right now, and one of the problems with a heavy fighter with our budget, since this is a close economy character, is that I can use only very shitty armor upgrades, and even with a 2.1 armor upgrade, this ship in particular, with its well, almost 8,000 cargo space, it would still die to its own nuke mine, which does 17,000 damage. And so the obvious question, why am I not flying my freighters, or maybe the transports that I bought? So, in the case of transports, they are actually pretty expensive. So we actually spent like 7 million just to get that gull, you know, for example. So I would have gladly used those 7 million credits to instead maybe buy a armor upgrade 7, which I think we could have gotten back then. Oh no, it's 10 million. Well, okay, I mean, it would have, you know, helped a lot. But yeah, and the other one is that the point of the hard mode is to challenge yourself a little bit, and I will instantly say, I don't know how to fly snubs. I mean, unless you think that ramming myself with double novas into people counts as good piloting. So, when it comes to, you know, not flying those transports or freighters, it's my kind of out-of-roleplay choice more than anything else. And, you know, it's not just being limited by the amount of money we can use, and obviously losing those ships by accident would be kind of problematic, but also I want to make things a little bit more easier. I'm not saying that I'm so good in these ships, in freighters and transports, that I'm not going to be killed by anything, especially with those armor upgrades involved. I mean, even with the Cap 1 armor upgrade, we would still die to 1 snack. So it's not really that, it's just that I would think it would be a little bit more interesting to watch me fly out of my comfort zone, and obviously transports and freighters are my comfort zone. The third one is, why am I so fixated on bounty hunting? Well, that's the other thing. It completely ties in with the last question. I want to step outside of my usual comfort zone. I don't do bounty hunting mainly because it requires a snub, because trying to bounty hunt in a gunboat has the problem of, first of all, it feels kind of unsportsmanship-like, and I know it's kind of, you know, funny coming from me, but, you know, if I'm a shitter in a gunboat, I'm usually a shitter in a gunboat on a completely unrelated and unpublic character, and, you know, I would have to post the evidence, so if if the evidence I post is me flying in a gunboat and having shot down a, you know, low-level, low-armored baddie who just happened to be flying a rogue ID, then, well, you know, it kind of feels bad. And, yeah, I don't do a lot of bounty hunting. You kind of, that's actually not the only reason. The good people, or at least the people who are above average, they will not get shot down by anything that I usually fly. I fly large ships, I fly cruisers, I fly gunboats, and those are the things that you get blues on usually in group fights. It's not something you fly solo and engage solo people, because they will have the ability to thrust away to the nearest base, regardless of how far it is, by the way, and they can keep you pinned by shooting CDs back at you when you try to cruise up. It's snubs. People are not easy to bounty hunt. It's not as easy as it seems, and I think that the more we get into the whole livestream thing, the more it's going to be apparent. Anyway, as far as code names go, the reason why I'm not flying around just farming code names at this point is that, well, first of all, I have yet to see anyone who would be interested to buy this thing. I still have the Solaris from when we were in Humboldt, but, yeah, I mean, if this was 85 or 84, we would just wait until Cody would just, you know, hop on one of his characters and, you know, try to sell it to him. But since there's no such people around, or at least these days they're not really around, it's not really that big of a choice. So that, I suppose, pretty much covers it. Needless to say, this particular video came out a little bit longer than I expected, but I just wanted to point these things out. Anyway, I suppose as far as the future holds, I'm not exactly sure. I will try to get out of Liberty a little bit more if there's something going on. I will try to, you know, do a little bit more variation. I will gladly fly with other people if they want to join my live stream. I don't know if it would be worth joining on TeamSpeak, because TeamSpeak kind of ruins my immersion. This is just something, you know, on a personal scale. So, yeah, I think this is enough. Okay, guys, I will see you on the next live stream. Hopefully you're enjoying this series. Kind of hard to judge from the amount of views on these videos, but I don't know. If it's on the right, you know, you can help me decide if it's on the right path by placing your likes and dislikes accordingly, and you know, I'm gonna review all of those comments, criticisms, and suggestions, and apply them to the live stream as we go. Anyway, this was Spazzy Dragon, aka Syndromes, and I will see you in the next live stream.